Welcome back, friends, to APAC North. It's time for Game 2 as we hit the halfway mark. FAV versus SANDBOX about to go down. Welcome back to the Analyst Desk. I'm the Medic. With me are Fresh and Fabian. We're going to talk about our two squads and see what they have in store for us for this matchup of Playday 3 of this first stage 2022 season of APAC North. First up, FAV Gaming. Fabian, they are on the chopping block, and I have to say, just like you were saying at the beginning, quite impressive what they've been able to do.
Yeah, I mean, they used to be a team that was struggling quite a lot, and now they're not really at all. They played really well. The game against Fnatic, they won 6 defenses, which, sure, it could be Fnatic not playing it that great, but at the same time, I think FAV did play it great. I saw a lot of quick adaptations, and not maybe in the adaptations, but more like small team plays where 2 players ran off and did something together, or they played off each other, which is the stuff that you really want to see to get further up. A lot of teams that have good individually talented players, they won't play together. They will play, oh yeah, we'll rely on the one guy winning the duel. But with FAV, it looked like they played off each other. There was one round, there was a guy in Strip, in Clubhouse, he got thrown out, and when Fnatic was chasing him, they came up the stairs and got the guy away from main stairs. So those small team plays where you play off each other, where you're not expecting it, it looked great. So I'm really excited to see them play.
I think the introduction of Ramu to this roster is, as you say, I think what you're describing there is problem solving.
Yeah.
They're finding an issue, but they're finding ways to solve problems together that even, you know, it can be a simple case of a refrag, right?
Yeah.
Even if you're going to lose the person that's challenging the guy, there is somebody there, so he's not getting away with that kill for free. And it's really nice to see from FAV, because this is the issues that they were having coming from last year that they have now solved.
Raum is a player that I have always been impressed by. We actually went to Japan with G, I think it was G2 way back. Way back. And we played against Father's back on a show match.
Yeah.
And he was on that team, and already at that point we were like, this guy is insane. And that was, it's what, 3 years ago? And even then I could see that it's a great player. So I'm happy for him to get to a team where it seems like his effect really
it's improved the team, yeah.
We got to see him compete also at DreamHack Valencia. I think it was 2019, and Father's back. That was the old Team 1 in those days that turned into MLB. There's so many things at that event that really changed.
Sage Historian.
Sage Historian. That's kind of my job. That's why I'm here. But that's how it went for FAV, and that's how we're expecting them. What about SANDBOX? Because a bit of a struggle in the opening week.
Yeah, I'm not going to be able to paint as positive a picture as Fabian just painted about FAV. We know SANDBOX have the quality, and this is all I'm going to say, is we know that this team, you know, stage 1, stage 3 last year, they were absolutely running through teams like they were unopposed at times. Stage 2 last year, and then the way stage 1 this year is shaping up, they're having their struggles, and it's just they're either hot or they're not, and they're currently in that not phase. Like I said in the kind of preamble, they do have a player coming in a week's time, so they've just got to kind of wait it out. They're used to beating FAV. You know, when they've gone head to head, they've generally beaten FAV in the kind of past year. That obviously hasn't taken into account FAV's kind of improvement curve, but it really is just waiting for that new player to come in.
I mean, they've been around for a team for such a long time. It's nice to see. I mean, I remember, again, I go back to history. It's like I remember playing them in Brazil before.
Pentasports.
Yeah, back when
Brazil
we were
versus Mantis.
Yeah, you see, like, it's so far back in history. Like, I'm getting older and older every day here. That's why I'm here now, retirement home.
Yeah.
But no, it's interesting to see how long a team can actually stick together and keep going. And sure, they're changing one player now, but I think that if you have that sort of team spirit within you, you can change a bad outcome of 2 weeks, 2 play days going poorly. You can change that like this.
It's a long-term investment. It's not like it was back in the day, you're playing for 3 months. No, you're playing for the whole year and more. Our map bans for this series. We're down to 1 map with our 9 in total in the pool. And will we get a new one? No, Cafe removed there at the end. That oddly looks like Theme Park Oregon is the map that we're going to go to, with FAV Gaming having the final ban and thusly the final pick of the map. That means that SANDBOX got to choose the starting side, and they picked defense for it. Jack, does this align with the numbers?
So, you know, I like to do the map bans and the statistics.
No skyscraper here.
No skyscraper. But what I do, just said do, is I do the 1 to 9 of preference, right? And when teams align on a map where 3 or 4 is their middle preference map, number 3 or 4 is the same, I had Oregon for this because Oregon was both teams' third preference map. So I'm not surprised to see Oregon.
I mean, Oregon as well is a fun map to watch, I think. A lot of people disagree with me on that one, but I think that it's a very heavy on the basics. But when you toss up everything and you make it into a crazy, like you make a new strat that nobody's seen before, or you try to play a bit more aggressive, it's a very enjoyable map to watch. And I hope for the best here. And what side you start on Oregon, I don't think it really matters. It's a 3-3 map, sometimes 4-2 defense.
It feels it's usually a battle of the tertiary sites.
Yeah.
Right? If you can hold on to the tertiary sites on the defense, meeting kitchen or kitchen dining.
Yeah.
If you hold on to them on the defense, you tend to win. But
Exactly.
it's usually all about that.
And top floor is 50-50 and basement is, I guess, 80-20 depending on which team.
I want to see Thorn maybe in this one. There's a lot of nooks and crannies, the kind of views of the hallways here. But anyways, our kind of theory crafting aside, it's time to get into game. Fabian Fresh, thank you very much. Sandbox versus FAV. We got Hap and Emma on the other side. Enjoy.
Thank you very much, Milos. And yes, we find ourselves heading into the many nooks, crannies, and alcoves that are all littered across this map. The performance between the two teams will be one that starts to set a pace because Sandbox's pace so far has been slow.
For some reason, alcoves was also the first word I thought of when he said nooks and crannies.
Yeah. Very
weird how that happens sometimes. The synergy, absolutely on point. But yes, let's get going. FAV, new logo, by the way.
Yeah.
It is no longer the good old FAV
sharp.
Gaming. It's a very sharp logo now.
Very fancy. It gives a little bit of that extra pow. Fav Gaming, okay. I really love how you've been playing Fav, and this is that worrying moment for me as somebody who's seen Fav play for a couple of years, is they often have this moment where they get a lot of energy, a lot of pace, a lot of pizzazz, a lot of panache, and then it starts to fall apart when people start getting a handle on their game. It's not the first time. You can follow this by the track of has Dez jumped onto the sort of bandwagon of Fav? Yes or no? Okay, tick, yes, that means they're doing a success. But he often falls off, and you know that Fav has these ups and downs.
Yeah, that's it, right? With Dez, especially, number 2 is always the one that he's like, oh, number 2's not doing well this time. Okay,
Yeah.
we're no longer a FAV fan. That's literally Dez in a nutshell there. But, I mean, it's been going quite well here for FAV so far. Let's see if it continues that way as we head into the final few bands. The Flores is a band we see more and more often. I mean, Cade kind of makes sense when a Thatcher is removed, when a lot of hatches are in play and the Thatcher is gone as well. And the Clash is of course an operator we do very often see being quite annoying in some of the approaches as well. As we're headed towards that top floor first, it will be the kids and the dorms main hall. You will see a very... there's nothing quite out of the ordinary from the defense yet, right? We see the Jaeger, we see the Wamai, which means that throwables will be a bit more difficult to use. The Aruni will play into that as well. And that means that there needs to be some good clearing going on from the side of FAV if they want to use these grenades to their fullest potential.
Some good old traditional clearing to come through here as we start up on the top of dorms. We have a pretty standard attacker lineup for now. Obviously, there's always the chance if you've missed the first week's worth of play days, attacker repick is in the game now. So there is always the opportunity for FAV to try and shake things up, change the decisions. But this is pretty much the exact lineup that you would have seen on the opposite side. Maybe a swap out of the Thermite towards a Barna or an Ace if there was the option there instead. But here, with the Thatcher off, with the Kaid off, it's not going to be too much of an ask for a Thermite to be able to get an actual proper breach, and you don't really have to bait out and play against too much unless you have a really energetic Bandit player, which, to be honest, you don't see those too often nowadays.
Not anymore, no. Sometimes you do still see a trick or there, but it's getting quite rare. And usually tricks shouldn't be lasting as well, especially not with verticality from below. Grenades that could be sailing over or through windows. You know, there's just so many opportunities to get rid of a player that's actively playing on that wall. And it's basically 2 birds, 1 stone if you manage to get that bandit, because that also allows you to just open up. That's going to be a good spot there, Static. I don't think he realized that his punch hole was a bit bigger than other operators.
It's a pretty big punch hole.
It's a pretty big punch hole. Number 2 spotted that one out. Is going to confirm him with a... No, not confirm him with a grenade. So that's one used. Still the injured though, and as this drone is starting to come in, spots that out.
There's a chance they might get him up. Ah, there it is.
No, it's not. Unfortunate there for Static. Try to go for a bit of a spawn peek, but will not last long.
Now the pressure's going to come through onto the dining side. They're going to see if they can get control of underneath the site itself. That reverse verticality will give you a lot more of an option. You can find a single player. There's a bit of a bait against that exothermic on the wall there. Nova couldn't quite get it all locked in, so pulls himself back. As I said, it's just a sort of section they have to clear. They can go for the kill, and it seems like they want to, but they know he has ways out. Nova's going to see if he can dig himself in for as long as possible. Has a bit of a realization of the pressure that's coming through and has that escape. Could head off to one of the other staircases if he wanted. By the looks of the last time we were there was a rotation from APAC already opened up by the defense. They have a way out if they need it.
Yeah, there is indeed that way out. And Nova again takes a bit of a gunfight here at the bottom of these stairs. Needs to be careful though, as now the sides of FAV are truly starting to dwindle down on him. Grenades are being tossed in. Nova using those back stairs has been spotted out by Afro. So it's going to be a player here in the kitchen trying to find a bit of a response. Nova, of course, taking out these drones, slowly headed back towards that kitchen, looking to go for a bit of a flank here, and it might not be fully aware of the fact that he's looking to punch in here. If he finds one, if he finds two, that would be absolutely great here, but it's Type on the other side with an LMG, so if there's going to be any sign of him coming around the corner, that is just going to be a left mouse button held down and not releasing until the end of it. And as he is being spotted here, he doesn't quite get the kill, but number 2 finds it in the end.
There it is, an important pickup, and with 40 seconds, they can now try and angle themselves towards the site on the second floor. They did relock Attic, so Shin's going to get that opened up with probably not too much pressure coming from the opposite side. Still steadily droning their way out at the top of White, though. At this point, 20 seconds, it's just going to have to turn into a bit of a drive. They don't have anybody on the double window. They're just going to have to try and force themselves through this Aruni gate now and offer themselves that little bit of extra width. The pressure comes over onto Harper. There is a bit of a take back over from the side of Trophy, steadily across, and with the plant in the backside, they're just able to tuck in behind the double beds. One more huge take there from MV Taylor, and with Type on a sliver of health, it's Afro that goes down to that impact. Type on is now all that's left. He has himself underneath. They have so much health to work with. They're just looking for a bit of a scrappy fight, and with how injured Type on is, it just takes a sliver. Not entirely sure what he's got in terms of his gadget in his pocket, but he doesn't have anything to immediately stop it. Can't get the angle, and there's the wrong man! SANDBOX somehow pulled that one back.
The long arm there was a small opening made by the impact, of course, tossed in by the defenders. It is not going to be enough to get the actual round win in the end there. An extra kill found, but there was one left. And as a result, it is SANDBOX that will find themselves to that first round, just barely, however. And Laundry Supply will be coming up next. We're going into that basement now. And FAV, they did get quite close, but as said before, not really done any preparation work. The game's wall still closed. Attic only started to be opened up 20 seconds, and they were forced to go for these gunfights through the window, through the stairs. And that allows a lot more freedom on the remaining 3 defenders of SANDBOX to roam around and make pressure happen where they want it.
Now, I'm sure that you've all noticed that the sound is a little bit quiet and a little bit, unfortunately, distorted. There is a problem. Production was trying to get it sorted, but they don't think they can. So, unfortunately for this game, you'll just have to bear with us outside of a rehost. It's not affecting the players, so it's not going to be something that we're going to stop their game for. But unfortunately for you lot at home, you're just going to have a little bit us, a little bit louder, and you'll have to fill in your own general game sounds just to avoid that sound bug. So apologies, but we will get through this in SANDBOX. They've been able to get through that first round now. FAV, they had a bit of a start, but it was the play of Nova, wasting so much time and pulling himself round. It was, 40 seconds left before they even started to put the pressure onto the dorm site itself.
I love that little charm Nova head there. On this, on Super Shorty, the little glowy goes there on the side. Opens up the hatch though. Extra rotations, extra pushes, potential for a potential flank player that is on there for the side of SANDBOX. FAV, however, they need to force themselves into that bottom floor. And there is multiple ways of doing so, but it very often starts with opening up all these hatches. You're taking a small look over to the left and you see Shin on that Hibana, of course, has the opportunity to open up every single one of them. There's no Thatcher on board, but also no Cade, which means that, well, Maverick is still there. Could do some work on some of these hatches, which is normally going to be the meeting one, but no real need for that actually currently because of that Hibana being allowed to do whatever she wants for free.
Now, with those claws, as you said, removed and the Hibana having the freedom to put the pressure on that they want. You need that
That is a
pressure to
waste.
come a little bit quicker.
That's 6 tossed up. Not.
Was that 6?
Yeah, it was 6 in the first one.
Oh, I thought I saw them flick to 4.
Well, they did now, but the first one was definitely 6. There's also 4 left. You get a total of 18. So
I can't count.
Counts up to 16 if
Okay.
you would be doing 3 times. So there's 2 extra on that first one. It's a bit of a waste, but there's still 4 left, and that will be enough to open up a mirror window, even 2 if you want to use 2 at a time there. You could also open up right here. Opens up a little bit into the Shaiko spot, makes Sean's position a little bit harder to play. But look at that, there's a Goyo at the bottom of these main stairs. That little canister there that will be exploding once that push will start coming through. And it's going to be stopping the push for quite a long time. So number 2 really needs to make the pace here, because otherwise he's going to be stuck on those main stairs for the remainder of this round.
That's entirely it. It's about a 20-second burn, and you're now looking at that 40 seconds half, so they've just got to try and force their way through. MV Taylor and Static get 1 back apiece and rebuff that approach here. FAV, they still haven't found a handle on these final site collapses. There's another one there that's popped onto the default. A great play with the recently changed and adapted Goyo. 20 seconds now with Harper still on the lock on elbow, waiting for the swing of that player to see if they're getting close. They've got to make the move sooner rather than later. Shin's tucked in, loses his cover, loses a little bit more blood, but at least wins it out. The smoke finishes off the story, and there's Harper with that punctuation. SANDBOX, once again, don't really do too much of a stretch on the rest of the map because their hold on the site itself is more than enough.
It is very solid, and you saw there for a second actually on those bottom main stairs, as soon as the Goyo got popped, the Zofia pushed through. He's like, we're not stopping for this fire. We know exactly where you are now because you just fired on the ground. That gives us the opportunity to make it happen, get that kill, and provide an opening. And as you're wondering, we are actually going for a small rehost. Shaw already has his mask ready for a win. You see that in the background there?
Oh, it's always there.
It's always there.
Always
Sometimes it's on the
close.
ground. Now it's watching over his shoulder. Wondering if he can finally be making his reappearance onto the APAC stream as well.
I was going to say, not this split so far.
No.
Both times they've gone to Chalet. Both times, not Chalet, Skyscraper even. Both times they've lost. Hasn't been the best SANDBOX start, but it's also not the true SANDBOX. I know it's... I guess it's one of those things that you're not trying to paint an excuse, you're trying to explain why they're not performing to the level they might have been before. Because this isn't the final roster. Nova is the coach, good boy, who hasn't come of age yet, but does, for one Playday this split, plays the very last game of this split.
What, the very last one? I thought
very last one, I
people
believe.
said he was coming in next week.
I don't
know.
Des told
You know
me
what?
this morning
I am
it
going
was
to
the
find
last
out
game.
about it now. We'll figure it out.
To be honest, it could be the same week and the last game with how quickly this split's gone.
It could be. Good boy. All right, there we go. We'll find out.
Are you checking his birthday?
We're gonna check his birthday. Born April 12th, 2004.
Well, that's definitely...
It's definitely not next week.
No.
It's going to be 3 weeks, yeah. So it's going to be only the last Playday. So that means that this split, they are playing with...
But, and then I hear the counter argument, but Fluke, this was the roster last... I know it was the roster last time, but they were playing different roles. And it's also the prep, the work that's gone in is they've been working alongside Good Boy. They're not just going to be like, well, let's just train with him when he's ready in the roster. No, you prepare, you build yourself up to that moment.
This stage is damage limitation, you can almost say, right? For the rest of the year, you try and get in as many points as possible. You don't really expect them to go and perform at the majors here at this current time, but you try and get as many points as you possibly can to put yourself in a good position for the end of year tally, where of course relegations get decided. I'm not quite sure if it's bottom 2 or bottom 3 because that changes every now and then. But if it's bottom 2, you definitely want to try and stay out of it. And T1 and FAV, actually, the teams that were in that position last year, both were able to maintain their spots. FAV came out swinging a little bit more so than T1 did at the end of the year, considering they are currently still unbeaten. We get to see if they can continue that here today. If they do, then they will be up onto 9 points. And I said it last week, at the end of this week, at the 4th Playday of APAC, we might already have a team secured for the playoffs, because now it's the top 4 that goes through, and the top 4 out of the best 8 teams of APAC North and South will be going to the major. So there is no longer that default spot to the major you would get if you ended up in first place. I like how they're, by the way, watching in the background, trying to analyze their games.
I'm trying to work out the seating arrangement of SANDBOX.
Okay, yeah.
Based on the camera positioning. It's like a puzzle. It's like an early morning puzzle.
You like your early morning puzzles,
I do like an early morning puzzle.
I wonder if Charles even...
So Static is...
Yeah, Charles there. Okay.
So Static is sat behind Nova, and Envy Taylor is sat next to Nova.
Yes.
And Shyle is sat on the other side of Nova, which means that Harper is behind Envy Taylor.
All right. There we go. Can we get on our roadmap, please?
The whole time you were talking there, the whole time. And I listen to you a lot of my day in general.
There.
The whole time I wasn't listening, I was trying to work out the seating arrangement based on the camera positioning.
Fine.
And I did it. And I was successful.
And I was just talking about how they were analyzing their own games.
Yeah, I was
analyzing
analyzing the arrangement of the chairs based on context
We have
clues.
different priorities, but that's all fine.
Yeah.
That's what makes it work, you know?
Hey, listen to that! Oh, let's just have a little bit of game sound.
Isn't that quite beautiful?
Isn't that quite beautiful? Yes, it has been sounded distorted. Thank you, everybody, for bearing with us. We now have blessed audio. We can now hopefully cast this... I was about to say without any other problems, touch wood. I'm touching
motivational
the desk.
by the way.
Yeah, Medics, he keeps us going.
But yeah, we're getting into round number 3 as a tertiary site that we will head to next. It's going to be the meeting and the kitchen. Dining will probably see a small extension, as in Nova will play around it. Question, of course, is how long will he hold on? That's the drone. He has been spotted out, though. Needs to be very careful. There's a couple of windows he will be passing. Doesn't want to be caught off as they are getting opened up, because there was some bullets going through here and there. There you have it. A little bit of damage done to Nova as he tried to rotate out. Definitely is going to put him on a bit of a scare there. And force him back all the way into security.
It's one of those sort of moments here for FAV, because they've had that breath, they've had that time to sort of look over those first 2 rounds, and it's the pace. It is entirely a pace issue in terms of the pressure onto the site. And okay, it's Oregon. You do see teams play this defensively very well, and, you know, dropping those opening 2, it's not the most outrageous or egregious thing to find yourself on the wrong end of a 4-2 split on your attacker half. But here, this is the side where it's going to matter the most, and they're making sure that they can get this approach with a little bit of cleanliness stacked up on the shower corridor, opening up onto the kitchen site itself. There's a back line of Static that falls slightly further back to a player into the meeting, and now it's only the player into the meeting. Ramu gets that opener against Static.
I was going to say, they're just going to go for a straight kitchen push, it seems like. They're not really messing about here, and they've opened it up already. Long angles are being created as well, but a small rotate is incoming as well. Tidepon takes that diffuser with Ramu, as Nova is retaking the showers area. Shin is hearing some noise there, but Nova has gone unspotted, has managed to sneak past, is now into the small tower as well. Shin is right around the corner, but he doesn't seem to know, and I think that the drone might have actually spotted him out right now. Shin still trying to find out some of that information. One drone gets shot, he heard that. The second one is taken out. Shin, aware of it, sneaks around the corner and gets the kill. So as Nova sneaks around, he still gets punished for it at the end.
2 ships that passed in the night, except one of them had a recon device and used it well. Harper, he's about to see if he can try and strike a bit of fear back in. Sprays through, doesn't catch them, ring around the rosies, and he's the one that gets knocked down. It's a 4 versus 1. Shyle hiding in the smoke, but the plant's being put down. There's pings, but there's also a lot more pressure here. He's stacked up on a close corner. There's a pop round, doesn't see the first. Once again, another missed engagement. Ramu goes back for seconds. There it is, the first round that FAV's been able to cement on that tertiary site. Can they try and utilize some of this pace, this energy, and connect the dots on one of the previous 2 that has stumped them, Dorms or Laundry?
I gotta say, though, 2 of those kills are quite unnecessary on the side of SANDBOX. They shouldn't have lost 2 players to Shen there. He was playing on those small tower stairs. The drone passed Nova, didn't quite check it out, even though he heard some noise. And it wasn't until Nova shot that drone that he was aware of the fact that someone was inside. And he went for that swing, got the kill. Second one, missed the shots, and again, able to reply. And back to the top floor we head. The third tree side has for now been avoided by FAV, as in they didn't take a loss there. And now SANDBOX headed back towards that top floor. 50-50 was set before by Fabian on the desk. Let's see if indeed it will be that way. Or if it will be SANDBOX again coming out victorious here. Because overall the preparation work done by FAV to some extent quite well. However, they did not open up any walls, and that forced them to go for a push through the double window and through the white stairs. Now that can work, but you need to have the bedroom cleared out. Then you might be able to get a plant off. And I'm gonna throw this one in. They might have needed someone like Fresh to open up underneath the plant, so they could have actually gone for it. This time there was nobody. When he did it for Ace, he got punished for it, unfortunately. But yeah, not enough verticality there to stop that defuse from happening in the end, even though it was a 1v1.
Starting their way here on the top, MV Taylor might be pinched out. Pepper's a couple of bullets, but is able to slip away. They do still have a reinforcement, and they don't get to use it. Ramu puts the pressure on. They knew it was open before at the start of the previous round, and this time they made sure it stays open. Caught the player before they could get the full close off.
It's these losses that really determine rounds sometimes, because there's nothing really that Envy was able to do. He just knew there was pressure coming into the big tower, it decided to fall off and hopefully go for a reinforcement, but it cost him his life. And more importantly, magnets are now no longer being generated, are no longer being tossed into the round, and that means suddenly there is a lot more potential here for these grenades to be used to full extent. And there's 6 of them, so there is going to be plenty of opportunities here. First of all, Shal, bottom of the attic there, could easily be taken out by one of those grenades.
It's this thing that MV Taylor sort of did just before there, and Shah just did there, is a lot of pre-firing is coming through from SANDBOX. They're sort of seeing these openings from FAV, and they're trying to get these early strikes in, but if anything, it's just sort of revealing a bit of a position. It's revealing a bit of a play, because FAV, they're a team that punishes teams so well in doing that game. They move into these little spaces. And it seems like these little moments of SANDBOX's play feel like what FAV often run against teams, and I think that's one of the reasons that they're not quite falling for it, because it's a game that they play so well. Here, Nova is still underneath, still has that pressure and peace of mind. They're well aware it's an alternate take, but it's still a take where we're looking at that time, and we're looking at it just tipping under that minute mark, and they still haven't really put any pressure directly onto the dorm site. Finally, walk-in might get opened.
Only Nitro had been used to on walk-in there. There might have been a thermite there. Not the case in the end, and that means it gets opened up. And Nova goes quite aggressive with the shotgun. Is going to be able to land that first kill. That is going to be a 4-on-4 situation. Now he takes a small amount of damage, but that is going to be all worth it, as he can hold on to it for now. That is a big blow to the attack of FAV here.
Well, they want to see if they can bounce a grenade in close. Ramu's finally found his way over to the double window, and there is a great take onto Nova. That allows them to keep that pocket utility here. Afro creeping his way onto Trophy, sees a freebie, hops over and goes for a second, finds it at the top of White, and is going to plant just tucked in on the corner. Static. Doesn't really have anything in pocket to try and stop this from underneath outside of shooting up through, so went to see if he could find a take on the stairs, and there's at least one. 40 seconds, 3 more. One's outside the window, one's on Trophy, and one is currently tucked in the corner, but you don't see any of them. That is 2 for 2, and they find a response.
50-50 holds up for now, and that means FAV have equalized the score 2-2. And now SANDBOX might have a little bit of a worry here. Probably going down to the basement. Yes, indeed they are for now. Laundry and supplies, the site they choose to go to. And they need to win this one. They need to get in at least 3 rounds, because if they fail to do so now, suddenly it's FAV that is in the lead of this first half on the attack, and having the opportunity to lead this with a 4-2 split as well. Of course, them going over to the defense afterwards. And by the way, FAV have been playing this split so far. They probably are looking to make this a quick game after that.
I think it's also worth sort of looking at FAV's last game versus Fnatic, where they had a flawless defense. They are the only team outside... they're the only team inside of APAC North this split so far to pull a perfect half. I'm not entirely sure if anyone's been able to do it on our sister stream in APAC South yet, but
It was a flawless.
there was a
like
flawless
7-0.
Okay,
so
then that's probably
that's two flawless halves, right?
unless it was an opening attack, that's probably going to, I would say, the biscuit as well. But inside APAC North FAV, and it was against a Fnatic that seemed a little bit slow and lost. Hey, what have SANDBOX been struggling with recently on their attacks on Skyscraper? Oh, it's being slow and being a little bit lost. So the more distance that SANDBOX find themselves suffering here, I believe FAV are going to massively punish on the second half unless we see a very different SANDBOX.
That's it, right? But it's also been an issue that we've seen with them for longer than today. It's an issue that has plagued them for a couple of seasons where some of their attack rounds were super quick and super successful, but the other ones were really slow. And you could already tell by the first minute, like, there's no way they're going to be reaching the site in time with plenty of preparation done. And I kind of stuck around. And maybe that's an issue that gets solved as soon as Good Boy gets added to the roster. Of course, Ramu is basically the holy grail for the side of FAV, because ever since the team has just been performing so much better.
Now, Static, what are you thinking about doing here? They're just on a bit of a stretch of this staircase. There's a drone at the top, and they could probably take care of that and pull themselves back round. And yeah, they're sort of hoping and baiting for a fight here. They still have those canisters at the bottom of the stairs. They're in positions where maybe some utility will pop it. It'll buy a bit of time earlier, and I think it's a clever change because last time we saw it at the bottom of the stairs, and last time we saw FAV just not care about it. Halfway up the stairs where you've got to go through it for at least 4 or 5 steps rather than just 2, it's a very different decision to be made.
You're also a bit more exposed, however, though, so you need to provide yourself in a bit more of an awkward angle to be able to shoot that device, which means that you might be picked up before you even fix it. Shin this time does use 4 pellets on the breach, and should be ending up with a little bit more in pocket after that, after opening up all and every hatch. 10 still in pocket, want to create a very small opening there at the bottom of that A-bomb site. It's going to be a very slight one. Magnets are being tossed in, smokes as well to cover, but there is that impact nade indeed to get rid of that single pellet there, as they thought it might have been a little bit more than that.
That's it. You can smoke it as much as you want, but an impact doesn't really care about sight lines. It cares about just a radius of an explosion. Talking of, there's a Goyo popped on the corridor itself, isolates that pillar player, and Charles is going to pull himself a little bit further back. They haven't had the presence on the double door yet, but Afro is going to make sure he can go in with a bit of a bang. The canister says, no, wait, slow down as the drop starts to happen onto E-Box. It's a swing round into a little bit of the remaining fire, but the pings come onto the Shaiko spot, and there's the first. They were able to get the first before, and they couldn't get anything after that, so the next fight is going to have to come potentially onto the freezer side. Envy Taylor's locked in, locked him out. Keeps a bit of a cool here as number 2's now stacked up on the door, but Envy Taylor playing the reverse angle is able to take one more and can't quite find the lock onto Ramu, goes wide. Shin suffers massively on the approach, but able to stick it, and there goes his cover. Now as they drive themselves in, it's just that plot player left. No! So close to a pop-up from the off corner. But Envy Taylor is just able to give his life for the cover and support of the final SANDBOX player.
I was going to say, they thought it was default. They were both looking to swing that way, and well, it wasn't the first kill was coming in FAV's way, that they knew exactly where the last player was in that moment. And they win that bottom floor. In SANDBOX now, they have the opportunity to go to a tertiary or a quaternary, or to go back to the first one they played, which is, of course, that top floor. Yeah, it's quaternary.
Is that a word?
That's the word.
Quaternary.
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 Is it quaternary? I think it's quaternary.
I feel like this is the wrong room to ask.
I'm gonna ask now.
Who are you going to ask?
Google.
Oh.
I'm pretty sure it's quaternary.
Okay. I mean, fourth site.
Yeah, quaternary.
Un, deux, trois, quatre.
Yeah, it's a quaternary. Yeah.
So he said we nerfed these.
But yeah, we're going back to the top floor. I'm completely thrown off now. I'm pretty sure we asked one day, and then people told us.
Yeah, people do that all the time. Because we're often incorrect about words.
Might still be, I don't know. Quaternary sounds fun, so but they're not going for it anyway. So it doesn't.
No,
it doesn't
the
really
point
matter.
is moot.
The point was void, like literally 5 seconds after I said it. Yeah. To the top floor we go.
To the top floor we go in SANDBOX. In my opinion, In my sort of breakdown of this, I still believe that they need this round. They need some success. And
it's so
there is the
smart.
perfect way to open it. Hit the impact on the swing round, able to pick up the freebie, and there's going to pressure. It's going to start to have some pressure come through, but that is one of the rare times we've seen the opening kill go into their favor.
Which is funny considering SANDBOX during the Six Invitational 2021, I believe it was, the team with the most amount of impact entry kills, but were never able to translate these rounds. Now they're not getting them, but they're getting the rounds anyway. So it's basically the complete opposite from what they were once at SI 2021. Either way, the opening kill, very important. I mean, last time they did nude, okay, there was the big tower pressure coming in. We just wait for the repel sound now. We use that impact, we get that kill. Because there's not really anything they can do. You cannot cancel it as soon as you start repelling in. That is a motion that you can just not stop. And a minute has passed, a minute 15 in the meantime. Still, however, Attic is left open, so Afro is given a way in, and as he opens up a small line aside, Envy will be very well aware of that fact as well. And we'll be trying to challenge that for a little bit longer. But that might actually be the plan, the trickery here, as they look to enter from different sides instead.
That's it. They know what they've lost, and they've lost a couple of grenades and that pace that Ramu can apply. The player that is 6-2 over the round since the rehost, and, well, that's sort of desperately needed from them. That tip, that drive in on what was the opening sort of struggle of those early 2 rounds. It could turn into a bit of a huge blow here without that singular player, without that sort of focus to jab themselves into the site. The Impacts are ready to try and trick against any of the breach that might happen. Just close to walk in. They're expecting this push again because it was the success for them last time, and they've stacked themselves up with more attention to be paid to stopping it. Previously, they sort of handed over some of this territory and said, well, you can take it and we'll try and take it back, and that didn't work, so now you're not allowed it at all.
Oh, got it this time. It's not often we see successful impact tricks anymore, but Shin lost his exothermic there. That means there's nothing left currently, and that means Games Wall will stay close for now. 24 seconds on that clock. They need to make a push happen here on the side of FAV, and it seems like, again, it will be forced through this window, through the white stairs, and at the same time also through the game side.
Well, with the body covered in the corner and Envy Taylor and Static covering 2 of their own, it's a repick of the diffuser, but we are hurtling towards a 4-2 and a flawless for SANDBOX to be able to take themselves over onto their attack. This is where the fun begins in some people's books and the pressure begins in others, because trying to just get that last couple of rounds, trying to get that last bit of momentum against FAV, well, have you done enough is the question, more than can FAV fight their way back in.
That's it, right? Siege's game of 2 halves. First one just passed. Second one about to get underway. And it will be at the top floor. FAV basically starting where we left off with SANDBOX. And I've actually Googled the full sequence here for you. It is primary, secondary, tertiary, quaternary, quinary, synary, septenary, octenary, nonary, and denary.
Well, there's only 4
all the way up to
sites.
10. I know, but I was just saying we have the full sequence now, so that's all 10.
We don't need.
I don't know. You never know.
If there was a map that was released with 10 sites, 10 sites.
I don't think we'll be able to get 10 bomb sites. Maybe for hostage we will be able to get.
Let's just attach, like, you know how in Stadium they combine 2 maps?
Yeah, so we just combine all maps.
Just combine all maps
with the primary bomb sites.
That would be a nightmare.
That would be.
Or a Photoshop experiment.
That C-min. Hey.
No, that's too big of an ask, even for their incredible talents. Okay, FAV, you were flawless last Playday on your defense half. As previously mentioned, can you start it off with the same sort of pace? Granted, this is a very different map, a different sort of expectation here, but to be fair, Club in Oregon, they often go hand in hand in people's descriptions of people know them very well. You know sort of what to expect on these approaches. Oregon has a little bit more creativity, a little bit more build and angle opportunities to it than what Club does in the modern sort of game, but still, it was that punishment towards Fnatic's approach that so consistently worked for FAV, as pointed out by Fabian on the desk.
Yeah, it definitely was. And where FAV was able to get 2 rounds and basically struggled in some of the others, we now get to see SANDBOX. And the big worry here is their pace. They need to be quick about this. They need to clear out these roamers, and that's exactly what they're currently doing. However, Shin drops down. Might not have been heard. Entry drones are coming in, and we'll spot that security indeed has been cleared out. They also know now that the hatch has been opened up, and Shin, who's trying to rotate back to safety, might actually set himself up well for a flank as well on the big tower side.
Well, it seems like Nova's just on that approach. They were so close to being able to knock through, and they almost put the pressure onto that player instead. But for now, they can sort of sit, wait, and hope that this rotation comes through on the opposite side. The clarity has come through, and so far, FAV haven't lost the body to it, but SANDBOX, they're a little bit quicker than what was the sort of prerequisite before. It's just how much they get a bit blinkered, a bit lost into what FAV is doing, and how much they can sort of apply themselves to their own site take. Hey, that's entirely locked off. No real route through or around, unless you go deep underground and try and pick up a different rotate, because otherwise it's being watched, and you can probably assume that there's that pressure through, especially when the grenades start to rain through too.
Grenades being currently dialed in to trying to figure out where they need to toss it. There is a shield out there. There is Afro right behind it, but instead they go for the rotate. There comes the double man flank. Shin gets the first, finds the second as well, has to swap over to that shotgun. But at the meantime, Chaos is being sown, and as they find number 2, the shotgun comes around the corner. Is not able to land the shot, however, and that is in effect a 3-3 situation with 35 seconds left. But there's a lot of worry now on the side of SANDBOX, who currently got disrupted in the middle of the start of their execute.
I mean, I get the decision there. They just picked up 2. They wanted to see if they could put the pressure in, but I really think reloading there and pulling yourself back for a second might have been the better option. But here, 20 seconds, will it have been enough just to slow them? MV Taylor, he's going to try and swing onto this door, but he's greeted by a shotgun, and Shile's greeted by smoke at the top of the stairs. They have the diffuser just outside, and they pop in and get a huge take there. Ramu, he's able to at least stop that diffuser being planted. Shile is isolated, and Ramu is the one that takes that important firefight at the end of the round. Just enough to slow them down, but SANDBOX were coming to knock in.
They were coming in, indeed. They were about to put that pressure down, as I just said as well, and then number 2 and Shin just started moving up down that green hallway. I mean, they knew that someone was downstairs. They knew someone rotated, and yet they didn't bother putting up that flank watch. They might have thought, okay, there could be a rotate back in the top of attic, you know, we don't have to worry about that. But because that wasn't there, they were basically forced, or they forced themselves to go aggressive and go for that flank. And FAV found some success there. It could have been better, of course, after you picked up those first 2 kills. You could have just decided to fall back, head towards the sides. Instead of trying to go a bit more aggressive, they lost 2 players in a result, but chaos has been sown. Suddenly, everything didn't make sense anymore on the attack of SANDBOX, and they had to scramble whatever they had left with a 20-second time frame to get everything in motion. And now, we go towards the next bomb site. It will be all the way in the basement, but extensions will be made into the kitchen. They will be made into the bedrooms up above. This is that double kill here. 2 kills with a single mag of an SMG. It's not something you often see. It's the very last bullet as well that he fired to actually get that kill.
Okay, FAV, that's 1, but there was almost a punishment of that approach there. SANDBOX, we've talked about them being a bit of a slow team, a bit of a cautious team, but to be fair, that works perfectly against teams that sometimes get a little bit overzealous. Some teams that like to overstretch and try and run that gauntlet back into the fight. They picked up 2, but lost out on the 3rd, and that sort of trade, that sort of moment, you saw how quickly the guns of SANDBOX started to try and respond to that opening kill. Okay, Nova lost out on the close quarters because FAV like to sort of take territory and stick it on those retakes. They often don't bite and then try and flee. And
yeah,
here that's that web, that net that can be cast over Oregon so well.
Now it seems like they want to go for a bit of a barrels and blue push here. We have MV Taylor, of course, on that Ossa, is going to be able to use these talent shields and put them into the right position here. Smokes are being used, however, to try and, well, you know, get them out, force them to go back from where they came from. A second one used as well, and the entire site here is going to be basically smoked off. The shield gets knifed as well, so Envy's not going to be able to do anything about that anymore. He's forced to set up a second shield here if he wants to be able to see through. Banshees being taken out. Preparation work being done. The first kill gets found. Number 2 on the roam in the meeting. Taken out, but Ramu's still around inside the kitchen here. As a cancel barricade will lock him off. Stipend finds a response as well. It's a 4-on-4 situation now. 90 seconds left on the clock, and the battle around blue still continues. Wow, it entirely just keeps driving themselves through FAV's hold here. Ramu has to try and find his way back just to offer some support to type on, but there's a rotation coming onto Laundry. There's a rotation coming through onto the opposite side here. Nova's going to cause a bit of devastation and just sort of set himself up as a black bot. Nope. The back block gets knocked off, and that leaves now at least more of a focus. But with a minute left, SANDBOX have so much time, and these 3 players, they're sort of shuffling, trying to get a better idea here of where the 2 remaining players are. Ramu's doing a little bit of extra work for a rotate. They have some swing here, and the slow creep comes through. They just need to smell one of those players. They just need that whiff, and here Shyle is the deep dive to see if he can try and offer that width. There's still a C4 available here. 2 men coming in from the Laundry side. Ramu might have heard that. Pre-fires are attempted, but both missed him right there. He swings out with the SMG, goes for the shotgun, gets that pump as well. It's a 2-on-1, it's a 1-on-1, but Static clutches it out and will be able to win that round for SANDBOX. But for a second there, it started to slip away.
SANDBOX almost did SANDBOX things.
They almost did it indeed, and while they win that round, at least for now, they stay in it here. Otherwise, it would have been a 4-on-4, and they win a very crucial round and put themselves up to 3-5.
3-5. You can see a little bit of frustration there coming through from SANDBOX because, I mean, it was almost one of those, as I said, SANDBOX moments. The entry kill, the work is great, and then when it comes to putting pressure inside, everything starts to look a little bit shaky. It was a great play from Ramu. It was a great build back in, and the positioning he got himself into. They knew roughly where he was as well. They pre-fired the close corner, whether they just sort of used that as, oh, nobody's in there because we didn't connect anything. And then they suffered the first, and they went for the second, but he was tucked in with a shotgun. Either way, it's a round that they need to thank Static for. They need 2 more to try and cement their first points for this split.
That's what I want again. And here's the Echo bundle. Again being shown here. Claim until April 25th. Always love the creator bundles. It's great when they come out. Either way, a very important round here. SANDBOX has the opportunity to put themselves up onto map and match point if they manage to find round 9 or 10 or 11. It doesn't really matter. FAV is currently 2 behind. So SANDBOX is looking to put them into check. As they're headed up towards the top tower first, we'll try and see whether or not they're going to be able to find a response there.
Ossa going for the entrance here and trying to lead themselves in. And I had a bit of criticism for their Ossa plate before on the first Playday because they got a little bit stuck behind it. They tried to use it as their reliance. They tried to use it as their push, and it just sort of ended up with so many rounds of, hey, every tail is the last one left alive with an Ossa shield. Talent shield in those hands, and you're hoping to see them be a little bit more decisive with the possibilities here. Don't just lay them and leave them. Try and build behind them. Try and make something happen. There's an early stack up, as we saw, the pair of them. They've sort of got a two-tiered defense here across the tower.
It's going to be an extra thermite that gets blocked up by the Mute Jammer there, so they need to find a way to get rid of that one. And that will be through the attic. Currently, however, slightly contested, as we do have Shin on the other side of it, looking to swing over as soon as the damage comes in, but instead, it is Nova with the Maverick that is going to be able to get rid of it. Impact Nate comes through, but just too late. And now there's going to be 2 Talent Shields watching over Typon here. He almost loses his head, but stays alive just barely. Right behind the table, that's on its side, near the stage. That's the only thing he has to hold on to it for now. Grenades are being cooked in from below. Oh, that gets the kill. He just puts his head right over it. And that's a 4-on-5. It's an entry kill here for SANDBOX, and a very important one at that.
Now, as we get close to that minute mark, they're making sure they can keep that pressure in. A bit of a miss throw on a grenade is going to lose them a pocket of seconds and a bit of utility. But yeah, if that was cooked, that would be a very different story. Another smoke canister goes down, and we saw the Talon shield moving closer, potentially to that new breach at the back of the stage, so it didn't get popped from the exothermic before. The pressure from underneath that hatch is causing a little bit more, but there's Shin with one, and Afro with the cover. They've retaken the stage, and that play that FAV loves to do, let's strike and go into this positioning, and now they find themselves a little bit lost. Number 2, he's still stacked in close, and depending on which way Ossa looks, Oh, there was almost one more for his tally. How MV Taylor took that as a fight, I cannot tell you, but it allows them a little bit more room. A rotation underneath, though. They've got that clarity here. If this has gone unchecked, it seems like they have an idea. There's a ping, there's a pre-fire, but that's attention. With only 20 seconds left, they've got to see if they can actually try and make this stick. And, well, that's it. Still droning, still checking, still cautious, and still Ramu, and still a C4 in the pocket of Afro as well. They've got to try and drive a pocket of space here of their own, and it's Afro with a huge take, and there's a shield and a smoke canister, but Harper gets the pickup on the opposite side. Too little, too late. And they pull themselves above. They have that angle, they have that verticality, and they have that stairs control they fought for a little bit earlier. With 30 seconds, can the two remaining players here of FAV long arm this? Can they play a bit of a trick here? They're not entirely sure truly where they're being watched from. They cannot go for a bigger take on the opposite side. And this has turned into a very, very challenging retake here. They've just got to try and blind fight their way up the stairs, lose the first, just take the second, one more. No, Harper puts them onto map point.
Such a good use of the Ossa there, and this is what I said before when Ossa just got released. I want to see Ossa being used in a way where they can facilitate the plants. And yes, it is also great when you put it on the staircase, you can look over the table, you can get these free challenges. But like this, you just place it just enough into the site that you can plant behind it in a safe way. Yes, a smoke canister can go over, but that is not going to be the difference maker here. And now FAV decide to call for a tech timeout here. SANDBOX are on map and match point.
It makes sense. It makes sense. You're sort of looking down the barrel of a gun here. It's these little moments that aren't quite working. You think of that smoke canister being, what, 5 seconds earlier? They wouldn't have been able to get that plant down. It's those sort of preamble decisions. They had it in pocket. And you have this moment when you're looking at the timer in that situation. We all know how long those canisters wait for. What are you waiting for to trigger that? What part of your reactionary playstyle becomes, if anything, a little bit of a reliance or a little bit of a hindrance towards the play? Because they have that talent shield there. They have the diffuser out there, and you still had the player watching the long corridor down towards the kitchen side. You know what they're going to try and do. So why not preempt that? Why not utilize that gadgetry in a different way? That, I assume, is that conversation, because little sparks of FAV are unfortunately just being snuffed out by their own little missed moments.
Yeah, definitely so. FAV, unfortunate. I mean, they had a great strike back here. Of course, this is a great entry kill. The head just being put over. Look at that. Ow. That is very painful. That might have actually been the
That's like a Tim death.
That is a Tim death there. That's definitely like that, yeah. But they went for a great retake. I mean, they managed to pick up 2 more kills, drop the diffuser, put the pressure back into, well, SANDBOX's camp there, but unfortunately for them, weren't quite able to deal with the Ossa shield at the end there. And then you come back to the missed opportunity of the Ossa walking past. If you would have done a little bit more damage there,
I mean,
if you wouldn't have let that side swap happen to
I
the
think that's
gun.
the thing, is when you set yourself up with that aggressive position, you don't always expect the sort of shield operator to make their way around. Also being able to get the kill out of that is probably that biggest irritance.
Yeah.
Is that's the worst part of that sort of engagement from the player's point of view, is it's happened when roughly around the time they backed off the stage, they tried to fall off. If they'd have tucked themselves into the back of the stage corner instead, they wouldn't have been able to get that kill onto that player. They would have been able to buy themselves maybe another 5 seconds, and sure, it gives the game away, but you still locked the door. You still sort of said, this is the position we're playing in, and that's that irritance with FAV, and there's the response. A very early take here against Nova. The buck is gone, that player that sort of drives the opposite side of the push most of the time for SANDBOX. They'll find themselves on the other side of the map, and they'll try and dig their teeth in. Now Shyle has to try and fill that void, and is able to at least get quick response with MV Taylor getting number 2 as well.
2 very important kills coming down here. Even though they lost Nova, they find 2 important trades here. Number 2 taken out, not really finding himself into the game as of yet, but Shin is one of those bigger hitters. Ramo is basically the one carrying force left on the side of FAV here.
As SANDBOX, they have that man advantage. They have 1 minute and 40 seconds left on the clock as well to make stuff happen here. Nades are being tossed in to get rid of utility and potentially players up onto the white stairs. Of course, not finding anything as of yet. Shao is trying to contest some of these vertical angles that are also being contested back by these defenders. And right now, FAV, they need to hold on to whatever they have, and Afro does just that. Gets an important kill onto MV Taylor, who was still on the outside. That is going to be your Maverick gone. That's going to be 2 more grenades out of pocket. And that leaves you with only, well, 1 left to challenge against. Hopping up and going for the transfer now to see if they can try and drive themselves onto the Dorms push. Going for that standard approach here. With the control that they have, they don't really have much else that they can do. 50 seconds, though, and still a bit of pressure being put onto the site a little bit earlier. Didn't get all of them. 1 X-Kairos remains, and that will do enough to at least force that angle to be more uncomfortable. But with only 6 left in pocket, anything that could be close to being a route through is, well, going to be hindered. Very slow to pass through, and the smoke canister is going to do a little bit more than that. So SANDBOX have actually picked themselves up a different angle, hoping to see if they can catch somebody through that impact hole.
Need to be a bit quicker though. 22 seconds on the clock and we're still counting down. A smoke canister is currently being used. We have Shao pushing up from the armory side of things. This is a very important push that needs to happen. He needs to find these entry kills there, Shao, to make sure that they could go for a potential plant. The time is ticking out. Static needs to jump in. Harper is in, however, but he gets traded out. I believe that's a team kill from Shao. That is absolutely detrimental. And as there's an injury on either side, there's 2 men of FAV now hunting down the 1 planter on the side of SANDBOX, and they managed to live through it, at least for this single round. And now we wait to see if they can do that twice more.
It's also worth noting that although we're still sitting on this map point in favor of SANDBOX, FAV, they had 2 very near misses on their defense. Okay, one of them was almost a huge play back in from Ramu. Dug in on the corner, down in the basement. He almost pulled back a 5 versus 2 situation to a 1 versus 1. But the second one, that stage thing, I still think should have been FAV's, so they're aware of this. And if we are going to see a game, our first game that goes to an OT, this APAC, no, we have not. Everybody's still on fully rounded 3 points, or none, in the case of SANDBOX. They have...
It keeps things easy, though.
Yeah. Simpler.
Back in the good old days when there was no draws, no other... No, I like the system better, by the way.
I think this system is the best system.
Yeah, I like it. It rewards you at least, you know, if you're 6-0 down, it rewards you to try and fight back, get that OT.
Because otherwise, it's not over till it's over.
No, until the last round is played and it says victory, it is not over.
Just say that.
Or defeat.
Hey, Osa's back for now. There's about 5 seconds before that gets locked in based on this cool
Little repick thing.
Little sound.
Yeah. Now it's locked in. 2 seconds, all the operators get locked in. You can no longer change
and your
spawn.
location, yeah.
That's the most annoying thing to me.
I think that's the thing. I'm assuming that's just something that happens alongside the whatever coding. Whether that gets changed or not, you'd like it to, because you're used to being able to change the location. But yeah, I mean, you can change it in the opening like 25 seconds.
I normally did it in the last 5 seconds. So
yes,
it gets me a bit more
because
than
you
it should.
talk. But that's a whole other thing. We've still got other things on the plate, and the first is going to be here, the SANDBOX approach. And as I said, they didn't have the also truly sort of flying the flag on the previous approach, but here it's a different approach. Once again, Shile, he's going for a very quick clear, just sort of being driven ahead by 2 drones, making sure that nobody's able to pick him out on this fight. They're making just quick work.
See, Tim knows this feeling. A hot drone with a good fragger right behind it. Now we've spoken to Tim here and there, but I really hope he puts that video online. Either way, they're looking to put up some early space, and with the drones that came in, they know exactly what's clear. They know everybody is currently on the site, and as they're dealing with some of that, you know, those pieces of utility, just getting rid of the cameras, surely soon they'll start to push themselves down. Now, number 2 with a ripped C4. That's a bit of a worry. Because as soon as they start pressuring that backstairs, it will just fly at you. You have no clue that it's out there if you didn't send the drone out first. So him holding that C4 button for now is going to be absolutely crucial. Shao out there, a stun comes through. He's still holding his hand. He's not moving until a drone comes in. That is coming in right now. No, actually going back as well.
Now he's on a gun.
He put it back now. Yeah, drones are coming in. There it is. So they would have been aware. There's also one right above him. Also, shields are still being deployed here. However, Typon prone, close around the corner. It's not an angle that will be often very
Now he's back on it. He wants to loose this, but the pressure here and how Afro locks in, this is going to be the risk. And hey, there's a Talon shield. There's no longer a Talon shield. Ossa loses half of their health and instantly gets rebuffed back. They had a bit of the cover in a swing round. They have a second one if they want to try and deploy it, but obviously they are well aware of that game, and they still have 3 impacts and 2 C4s, everything you need. Harper finds number 2, takes control of that pillar. That's been locked. They have that understanding of how FAV have pulled themselves back. An early C4 doesn't go through.
How many do they have left? They have 3 impacts left. That's all they got for the post-plant denial here. Ramo gets a good kill, though. That also helps. Your gunplay will definitely be helpful. I believe that's the second talent shield maybe taken out. They're a little bit more damaged on, but this is an important opening here with the X-Scarals here. They're trying to go aggressive on the side of FAV because they know they're being locked off, and they're both dying here. It's a 2-on-3. They need to go for a plant. There's 7 seconds left on the clock. Shao finds one more. It's all up to Shin now. Is he going to be able to stop this plant from happening? No, he will not be, as he's going far too wide off. Creates himself a rotation here. Swings around the corner as 45 seconds start to tick down in favor of the attackers this time around. Another impact gets tossed in, and he's in a 1v3 to try and lock it off.
Well, it doesn't last very long. Shile was that strike from the laundry side when all the attention was being paid to one half of the push. There was that player, and there is SANDBOX finally making themselves known on that scoreboard, taking the full 3. FAV, it hasn't been a great day for them today, especially in comparison to how they played so far. Those little mistakes, those little missed bits of communication, it could have been their game. They believe that truly, and they'll have to have that conversation before our next Playday, but only one winner today, and it is SANDBOX.
Where is the mask? He didn't put on the mask. They just closed the cams. I'm disappointed. They finally got that win. They didn't go for the act that they normally go for. They probably realized after. It's like, oh no, we forgot about that. But it is what it is. And where I said it was damage limitation for this stage mainly.
Yeah.
This is good damage limitation. 3 points. You keep yourself in the running for a potential major spot as well, of course. So, you know, everything can still happen with SANDBOX.
But we're going to throw to a very quick ad break before we throw it back to our analyst desk. They were sat there with head in hands at some of those rounds, so I am super curious to see what they think about that after this.